ध्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ May all my limbs attain strength. May the body, the mind, all the sensory and motor organs, and the life force become efficient and perfect. All is verily the one without second, infinite, blissful existence itself, the Brahman. May I never deny this truth of oneness of existence, bliss, consciousness. May this never reject me either. I am aware the experience of this truth requires some virtues to be cultivated. May all these virtues which have been spoken by the scriptures be with me. Om, peace, peace, peace. Let us feel the truth of oneness by dissolving our shapes, our forms. Let us imagine everything around, and I myself am different pieces, different cubes of ice kept out in warm weather. I feel I am this one very special ice cube, and some close to me. They are my relatives, my friends, or my enemy. But The shapes are gradually disappearing. The differences between I and the world are disappearing. Oh, it's all gone. Was there ever a difference intrinsically? No, it was just an illusion. It is one without second substance, all pervading, beyond time. I am that. I am experiencing this, being all pervading. I am all that is, no question of any desire in. I am blessed. Even when I assume a form, I am not that form. I am the same, one without second, existence, consciousness, bliss itself, home, peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin with our usual opening chant. Try to sing it loudly if you can see it from that distance. जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजोवारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकम् सत्यं परं धीमहि. That from whom creation, sustenance, and dissolution of the universe take place, who is both the instrumental and material cause of it, who is omniscient, is the only one having self mastery, being the one independent entity, who illumined the mind of Brahma with the Vedic revelation, whose wisdom is the wonder of even the greatest sages, in whom the world of the three gunas subsists just as the combination of materials like fire, water, and earth subsist in their causes without changing their elemental nature, in whose consciousness there is nothing false. On that truth supreme we meditate. From the last class, we began the discussion of Ajamila's episode, the story of Ajamila. So it is a very interesting story. And then before that, yeah, we discussed in that as a part of the beginning of that, the idea of Brahmaloka, an interesting idea that raises some questions about whether this Brahmaloka is it also like all these other loka means that place where you go and experience. Having experience means being in a loka. That is the etymology of this Sanskrit word loka. Lokyate, bhujyate, iti lokah. So, means whatever is seen or experienced, enjoyed, that is called loka. So, we are right now on this loka. Now, when the senses become finer, we enter into another realm. It is all dependent on our the instrument of experience. So it is not this actual place and that place. After all, what is an actual place? There is nothing like actual place. It is difficult to appreciate this idea because we are so much glued to this kind of earth is the existence. I am the existence. I live on the earth. It is actually all matter of perception, consciousness, and it squarely depends on the instruments with which we experience it. For example, when we dream, the instruments become as subtler, and then we see things very differently. So it is another loka, but that is an experience which is, for a comparatively speaking, for a short time, and we really have not left this loka then. But then you can see when the faculties become finer, then you start seeing very differently. Your enjoyments become different. Your awareness undergoes transformation. It is a different loka. So there are in the Vedantic scriptures, there is the description of many different lokas, higher as well as lower. Higher in the sense that uh, this senses and the mind, they become finer, and our experiences therefore become more powerful, more pervasive. It is the finer the things, the more pervasive they are. You can see that, like the um, the lights, that is the electricity is coming from these various light fixtures. These light fixtures, well, they are comparatively at a grosser level, and therefore their scope is limited. That it is, this light can put light only up to this. You cannot have this light seen on the street. But look at electricity that powers these. It is much finer and therefore has much wider scope. In all these different instruments, there is the same electricity that works. Like this sound system, they you have this HVAC system running. So all these are functions of electricity. Electricity therefore has much wider scope than one instrument that reflects it. So when the senses become finer, our understanding, our experience, it becomes much more pervasive. That is why we see the poets and the artists, the such, uh, their faculties being very subtle, their understanding is of a different level. So that is the how one goes to various lokas. There are, and then just as there are higher lokas, there are lower lokas. When the mind and senses, due to gross levels of enjoyment, they also become gross, and thus you cannot then live in a human world. You have to become, say, a pig world. See how different will be the pig world, isn't it? Hmm. We think that we are on the same earth here. In a way, it is true. But how different is the pig's world? Imagine. The senses are different. Imagine the world of a honeybee, a completely different world. So, uh, one can go into those different bodies and different levels of perception. So, therefore, it is not the uh, same level. So, there is the Brahma Loka where you identify now with the uh, whole universe, as it were. All these beings, different creatures, different these planets and stars, and all that is included as part of your consciousness. Still, it is a place, in the sense that it is still, there is the subject object consciousness even there, that I am subject, that is object. So, therefore, that ignorance is still present. The limitations are still there, but it is, relatively speaking, very, very pure state. Mm. So, that is called Brahma Loka. And the idea is one can stay there without falling back very easily. Mm. It is once other states, you are subject to uh, coming down. You go to the higher awareness, but then because of the lower propensities, you again fall back to the lower levels. So it is like a space station. Just do not stretch this analogy too much. But like you are removed from the earth, and now you are at a place which is which will not as long as that space station is functional, you will not uh, fall down from there. It accords you some stability, and from there then you can go to another planet, or yeah, whatever other place. So Brahmaloka is there, and if you have gone there with devotion, with the strong desire to get liberated, then you will at in the Brahmaloka you will continue with your spiritual practice and get liberated. So that is called Brahmaloka. If not, then it also at with time it will also degenerate, and you will become again any ordinary being. So that is why the verse in Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter is very significant in this respect. Brahma bhuvana loka punaravartino Arjuna. Hey, oh Arjuna, up to Brahmaloka, all these different states of existence, different lokas, they are subject to again and again come back, punaravartina. Only when you reach God, Mam upetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. When somebody realizes the divine existence, then there is no coming back, there is no change, because now you have realized, experienced the truth. Now there is no I left. Why now this being doesn't come back? No separate I is left. One analogy in Kathopanishad is that suppose you have say a cup of water and you add it to the ocean. Now, can you take it back? There is no that water anymore to take it back. If you add it from this pot to that other pot, you can again put it back from that pot to this pot. But when you have added it to say ocean, now there is no that water. So what we call as I, tied to a particular heap of flesh and blood and all that, now it gets separated from there, and then it becomes universal. There is no I left. It is that is the goal, that is the truth, that there is no distinction between I here and I there. The I in all the bacteria that composes this body, each of them has an I. So it is all same as this I, the I of all others. So the eye of this chair, the eye of this table, eye of the book, all these are the same, one without second, all pervading eye. There is no separation in that. So when as now the words when, where, they become meaningless. As for because of the limitation of language, we are forced to use this. But there is no time there to say when. It is because the ideas like when and where, we are tied down to those ideas. Something happened, we ask question, when did it happen and where did it happen? But all of that presupposes time and space. In that state, time space has vanished. And so these questions become completely meaningless. So it is that state, then there is no coming and going. Those words also become meaningless. So uh, now this has been described by sage Shuka to Parikshit when he asked question about it, that it is therefore called liberation after a stop. You go there, and thus you have a kind of safety that you don't fall back. Mm. And then from there you can do the spiritual practice to go there. Uh, but uh, Parikshit agreed and has now some other questions. Yeah, King Parikshit asked the Shuka about the way out for evil doers. Evil doers, please don't confuse. Evil doers means those are only those who are murderers or thieves. No, anybody who is acting against the nature of reality, that is evildoer. Whenever I think or I experience that I am this body, that is an evil doing. Because it is against the truth. I am not the body. And yet, when I am asserting I am this body, what am I doing? Am I not telling a lie? And therefore, what Rajgopal? Are we evildoers, isn't it? From that standpoint, it is evil doing. It is not illegal, but in the spiritual sense, it is not right. So, those who harbor this conviction that I am this body, now you cannot avoid selfishness. And we say selfishness is bad. Can we avoid selfishness when we are identified with body? Impossible. It is thus, it is you uh, perform acts that are in essence selfish acts. So therefore, that is what is called evil doers. So amongst them again there is a variety. Those who want to get rid of this I awareness uh, tied to the body. They want to go beyond the body consciousness. Now, relatively speaking, they are not evildoers because they want to get rid of this I consciousness. Compared to those then who want to further intensify this identification with body, those who want to further aggravate this, they are called, uh, relatively speaking, evildoers. Not only that their awareness is tied with body, but their whole life is to intensify this awareness. I am this body. And therefore, they are called the devils, the asuras in the Vedantic language, and they are called asuras. It is the in Chandogya Upanishad, that idea very strongly comes that the uh, the gods, means the uh, good and the evil, these asuras, both were told by their common father that, well, you are that. But then the demon understood that I means the body. And so uh, he advised everybody to all his followers were told, do everything to gratify the body. And so the Upanishad makes a comment there, and that therefore those who are uh, trying to gratify the in this bodily existence, the pleasures and so forth of the body, they are descendants of that Virochana, that demon, and they are verily the demon. So now that actually answers, that actually is the calling of most of us, that we think this body is I. Look, try to get more comforts for the body and so forth. So, what is the way out for them? Is there any way out? So, do not let us not think that this is the question about somebody else. What Sarah? It is not that evildoers. I am not evildoer, so why should I study this? It is about we all, that who think that I am the body, and the goal of the life is to uh, get more and more pleasures for this body. Then we fall in the ambit of this question, that that is why Parikshit is asking that question, not about somebody else, but for me, what will be the best course? So it is asked there, and I'm going to read. This is a very interesting reading. That even after understanding from experience and instructions that something is sinful, men are found to commit the same sin in spite of themselves. Here, sin means that they acts according against the spiritual truth. They are the sinful acts, and the spiritual aspirants are aware of it. They know it. Arjuna asked the very same question towards the end of the third chapter. He uses the same word, papa, means that which should not be done, sin or papa. What does he ask? That athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushah. Very intense question, friends. Anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitah. Very powerful words, that prompted by what this we commit, a person commits sinful actions, even though not wanting, but compelled by somebody, like car hijacked. Now the driver of that car has a gun to its head. Actually doesn't want to go at some place, but is compelled to go because there is the gun on the head. So who makes us act hmm, in these manners, even though we don't want to? And Lord Krishna answers, that person, that being who compels us to do that, its name is Kamaesha, Krodhaesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava. This lust and the anger. These are the two names of that same hijacker, same fellow. These are not two different things. The Shankaracharya comments there that it is the same thing, that when the lust meets an obstacle, it becomes anger. Hmm. That suppose somebody, say our Vishali, wants to do something, and then somebody says, no, you can't do it, obstructs. then what happens? That very desire gets converted into anger. These are therefore very obverse and reverse of the same thing. And there is no righteous anger. We sometimes support our anger, mine is righteous. That is the only qualification to be called righteous anger. Mine is righteous, somebody else's is not righteous. So there is, yeah, you one tries to justify that, well, isn't it natural to get angry? Should I not get angry? It is, well, if you get angry, you suffer for it. It is, you do not, you should not get angry. That is the spiritual truth. So, therefore, this is what makes us do. So, the same question is being asked by Parikshit here, and the same answer. Uh, Of what use then are these expiations? Earlier, these expiations were told that, well, people, they say Shuka said they have to suffer, and then suffering teaches. Hmm. If you, that is the meaning, that if you, because everybody wants pleasures and abhors misery. So, if you are subjected to misery or suffering, then you see that you are on the wrong track and then want to then change the track. So, therefore, when we do something that is anti truth, then uh, suffering follows. Mm, it is. And so that suffering may teach. But Parikshit says that again and again that suffering comes and still people do not learn. Same things they keep on doing. So, what is the use of all these expiations? You say that they will correct, but they don't seem to correct. Why? So, the answer is given. Hmm, uh, so, King says, I therefore feel that expiations are useless, like bathing and cleaning an elephant whose habit is to spray dust on its back always. This is a, this has become a figure of speech in that Sanskrit, that karisnana, uh, or here the word instead of kari is used kunjara. Same, an elephant has the name kunjara, or Kari or Hasti. So the Mahavat takes it to a pond or river and gives it a bath. As soon as it comes out with its trunk, it picks up a lot of dust and throws on its person. So Sri Ramakrishna used to give another example, and that a person feels that, okay, I did so many wrong things, let me take a dip in Ganges, and Ganges purifies us. ah, so Sri Ramakrishna said, yes, that is true, but what happens is all your those sins, before you go into the Ganges, they j- jump off you and perch themselves on the trees around there. As soon as you finish your that dip in the Ganges, as you come out, they again sit on you. So that is what we experience, friends. This is the king is telling that how again and again, in spite of knowing that it's wrong, and in spite of being, having faced the uh, undesirable consequences of it, yet we do not seem to learn from it. Then what is the use of these expiations? Let us not have them at all. But it doesn't depend on whether they will anyway come to you. So means the suffering will come to you anyway, whether you want to learn from it or not, that is up to you. But those things, those lessons will come, like those these days there are online courses, so they send the lessons many times. Then the study material is sent online. You are supposed to thoroughly study it, and then, but if you don't study, what can be done? So many painful experiences do come to us, but we refuse to learn from them. So therefore, he says, what is the use? The Shuka said here that the question is okay, but there is no shortcut here. That it is the under the influence of ignorance, people keep on repeating the same mistakes. Hey, you can show the video there. Ah, uh, do not webcast the video, only show the link there. See that bird again and again goes on hitting the mirror. Here it happens to the car mirrors. In India, it happens to the mirrors hanging on in the homes of your wall. Ah, and then I used to feel that what this poor thing, again and again hitting the glass, getting hurt in the process. It's ignorance, it feels that there is another nice bird, let me have friendship with it, and so doom dashes, gets hit, and but does it learn? No, again the same thing. So we are like that. We feel the painful blow, but we still feel, next time I will be more careful. I will not, yeah, probably I didn't hit right next last time. Now I will hit right. It is, as long as that perception is there, that doesn't help. So, the knowledge of God equal to truth is the only way out. When that bird understands or sees, not just understanding or knowledge, here does not mean just intellectual understanding. Intellectual understanding is very ineffective in changing the course of life. That many highly intellectual so called people that we see, Sri Ramakrishna used to give the analogy of the high flying vultures, that their intelligence goes high, like the vultures. But the vultures are looking on the ground where a carrion is rotting, so that it can scoop down to eat it. So that is how, even though the intellectual flights go very high, these persons are looking for sense enjoyment, more money, and all more respect in society, and so forth. Uh, so that is how. Oh, what is this happening? Okay, okay. Now please stop that YouTube. Thank you. Uh, so this is how this the knowledge alone, knowledge of God, that is the truth, is the that will stop when the experience changes by the repeated that attempts to change our life, then it will be in line with the truth, and thus, otherwise, people keep on repeating the mistake. The sage says knowledge of God or truth is the only way out there. It is, and so it is said here that, O king, one who practices spiritual discipline gradually attains purification of mind, and through that the knowledge of God comes to one by means of austerity, celibacy, control of the mind, control of the senses, charity, practice of virtues like kindness, truth, etc., and of disciplines like repetition of mantra, worship, uh, a man of righteousness and faith overcomes even great sins committed by body, words, and mind, just as a fire destroys a grove of reeds. So it is just gone. So this is again translation or a representation of the line in Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Agni Sarva Karmani Bhasmasat Kurute Tatha, that all the uh, sinful actions born out of ignorance. And so the ignorance as is destroyed by the fire of knowledge, Jnanagni, and then all the actions that emanate from that ignorance, they also stand eliminated, destroyed. So this is to be understood. uh, After, he continues that there are some rare persons, who, endowed with intense and undaunted, uh, unadulterated devotion, resign themselves completely to the God, the Vasudeva, and thereby eradicate the sin utterly like the sun dissipating mist. The purification effected by austerity and other disciplines is not so complete as by dedication of all one's faculties to the God, achieved through the service of his devotees. In this book, it is mentioned that, and this is expressed in Narada's aphorisms on devotion, that, well, we should serve God. Where is God to be found? Uh, you can find that God present in all creatures, and therefore serve the creatures as service to God. It is that is the discipline. Again, it may all creatures may sound a bit too much. Then you serve the devotees, because the devotees of God, they manifest the godliness. The saints, the saints, they express the divinity in their life. So serve the saints. That is considered a very beneficial discipline, serving the saints. When one serves the saints, then that saintliness comes to our life also. Therefore, it is advocated, serve them. It is because Narada says that there is no distinction between God and the saints, which are God's people. So, tasmin tajjane bheda bhavat, a very important aphorism and very practical, because, oh, serving God, how should I serve God? Well, you may serve all creatures whenever possible, see God in them. It is very different from philanthropy. It may look similar, but in quality it is different. In philanthropy, you think that that is real and I am serving them, I am helping them out. But here you have to change the awareness that this is the reflection of God. This is the God manifesting in these forms. So by serving these, I am serving God. It is the service of God or worship actually. That is the idea presented here. In Bible also, in the you read this Jesus uh, saying that, well, you may say that, oh God, but when did I disobey you? When did I neglect you? When did I disrespect you? Then I will say, well, I came to you as a beggar. I came to you as a person with diseases. I came and knocked at your door, and you did not care for me. It was so that is the God. Swami Vivekananda says that is the living God. So with whomsoever we come in contact with, mm, it is whether we like that person or not. In fact, the what we don't like, that is where the chance of service as God comes. When we like somebody, what is there, it is our likes and dislikes, they are controlling that, not our feeling of God. So, therefore, he says here that this path of devotion, he continues here that, oh, what happens? Uh, this is not budging. Oh, that YouTube has to be disabled. That bird furiously. Oh, that, without that it won't move, I think. Okay. Ah. And then what happens, that is actually part of that, but not a video, a picture right there. Ultimately, what that poor bird, it keeps on hitting the glass, gets hurt, and dies. It cannot stop. That is the with people, ignorant people like us, we who do not see the truth and therefore are bound to commit the actions like this. The sage is telling this, that devotion leads to God, the truth. You see the truth. Once you see the truth, otherwise, this is the result. Again and again, we uh, are born and we die, going through all these mistakes repeatedly, mm, thinking that uh, I am a man or I am a woman, and then running after with those ideas to various objects of enjoyment, and running after the enjoyment. What happens? Do we get enjoyment, Rishali? Huh? No, in the name of enjoyment, we get suffering and we keep on getting suffering, and but we not necessarily get wisdom. And the sufferings do come, but the wisdom doesn't come. So, again, next birth, we begin with the same zeal of hitting the mirror again and again and again. So, therefore, it has to change, leads to God or the truth. That search, who am I? Search what is divine. It is, and that is the not only intellectual analysis, as I had mentioned earlier, it is very powerless. It is and the very this core of logic, the process of logic is cyclic. It again comes back to the same point. It is the famous example is chicken and egg problem. What is first? And okay, this or this. So the all logic is of that kind, coming back again and again to the same thing. That is not going to take us to liberation. So the process is to learn how to change that through what is called the process of devotion. So the sage continues further that the path of devotion means what? Our love has to change. Let us love that which is true, which does not come and go, which is the reality of all that we see, and which is also the source of love. Instead of throwing love on these evanescent things, let us love that which is real. Mm. That is the change of direction. And it does take time because the momentum is developed for a long time, birth after birth. And therefore, people sometimes get tired. Oh, I am trying for 5 years, 7 years. Oh, how long were you trying to, get the pleasures of the world? How many lifetimes? So, you have to strive. One has to understand that it is not a matter of 5 years, 6 years. Like I did my medical course, finished 4 years the school, and did 4 years in med school. Then I also did this my residency, and so I am now out to treat people. So I have got my license now. So there is no such thing in spiritual life. There is no time bound course till you realize hmm, there is no shortcuts there. So it has no risk. The path of devotion has no risk. It is very easy to practice and most suitable for all ordinary people. It is absolutely, there is no doubt about it. Uh, that Sri Ramakrishna again and again therefore mentions that in this age, the way is to practice, he calls Narada Bhakti. So, what exactly is meant? There is actually a little difference between amongst the scholars of Sri Ramakrishna's literature. But one fact is sure that the devotion, some explain that according to Narada, it is tempered with our uh, the path of knowledge or discernment. Practicing discernment has to be a part of this practice of devotion. So that is the way, and that is the most suitable for all people. One has to accept this, and there is no risk at all. Mm. There are paths which are very risky, like the path of, say, Raja Yoga. They You practice certain disciplines, and you may get deluded by so many powers that come on the way, which may make you forget the goal, and thus you may fall down. In path of devotion, there is no such problem. Also, it is going more directly than the path of knowledge. Path of knowledge means you keep on, very slow, uh, in a way, it is because our intellect is not that powerful. If it is powerful, fine, but that is a very rare gift, I would say. But devotion, therefore, is one can follow more easily. So that is what it is mentioned here. So we shall continue this discussion further. That it is, it begins now. That Shuka says, I will be telling you an exemplary story, that how they a little devotion that also takes you to great heights. There is this story of Ajamil. There are many lessons from this story. A very uh, commonly studied story in the practice of devotion. The story of Ajamil, and we will actually embark on that story from our next Friday class. We shall have this chant, and then after this chant, you can ask questions if you have any. Not that you have to dig out the questions. निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुर्हो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. O devotees, quaff, quaff to intoxication this nectar of the fruit of the tree of Vedas, flowing from the mouth of the great sage Shuka and mixed with the ambrosia from his words. Any question? There is no question here, I suppose. Any question upstairs?
Yes,
Okay.
there is question from Taraswin.
Okay, Tharaswin.
Revered Shri Maharaj pranams.
Pranams.
What is the single most important thing that strengthens the path of devotion and what weakens it?
Well, whatever you can associate as the representation of God. We human beings, we use symbols, we use words. Words are also symbols. We use mantras, special words, which form for us the name of God. Mm. And so, like a person, if we know the name, and then by using the name, hey Dawn, then the Dawn responds, yes, because the name is uttered. So, if I know the name of God, and then if I call, God also responds. So, it is like that. We have to use that kind of uh, this. It is called an mantra, but the powerful association with these and holding on to these uh, relentlessly with lot of perseverance for long time gradually makes the change of direction, for our life. We start moving and Godwards. Yes. So that is how uh, the symbols of God are everywhere. That when in Mahabharata, this great idea comes that Bhishma, a very saintly person and a great warrior, he was lying now in the war, being hit by literally thousands of arrows had pierced his body. And so he didn't want to die because he could die according to the time that he chooses. He had that boon. So he decided to lie down till the auspicious moment when the sun enters a new cycle of so he therefore for quite a few days he laid down on bed, bed made of arrows, so was lying down. You don't want to lie down on such bed, what, Charlie? No. So it is. Uh, Now Krishna said to Yudhishthira that let us go this Bhishma before he leaves his body. Let us go to seek advice from him. And then lot of discussion went on between Bhishma, Yudhishthira, Krishna, and one of that was that uh, Yudhishthira asked Yudhishthira Shantanavam Punarevabhibhashata. That begins the great text called Vishnu Sahasranama. 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. That is, Bhishma tells, well, there are so many, all names belong to the God alone. Because everything being God, every name is also the name of God. So, therefore, all names being the names of God, I cannot really give you particulars, but I will tell you those which are used by sages and which are most prominent. Mm. यानि नामानि गौणानि विख्यातानि महात्मनः so ऋषिभिः परिगीतानि तानि वक्ष्यामि भूतये. Those great names which have been sanctified by the use of sages, I will tell you those. So those names are so wonderful that they have tremendous deep meaning. So if you repeat that, or if you are given a name by the Guru as mantra, keep on using that. Gradually, that will change the direction of one's mind. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. So, friends, tomorrow we shall be celebrating here the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. The programs will begin from 11 a.m. and with worship, flower offerings, and so forth, and will continue till 7 p.m. So, please try to join uh, all or as much as you can, and we shall now conclude with the closing chant. मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल, केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल. मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल, केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल. हरि हरि बोल, हरि हरि बोल. हरि हरि बोल, हरि हरि बोल. कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल, कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल. कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल, कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल. मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल, केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल. केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल.